How you going, brothers? I hope this message finds you well and life is treating you fair. There's an old saying that goes something like, the best we can hope for in this life is ordinary unhappiness, and I think we could sort of aim a bit higher than just that, eh? But one of the things that gets in the way for a lot of us, and I know all about it myself, is addiction, whatever it is. Now, for me today, my addiction would be coffee. That's the only addiction, and I make a conscious choice to be addicted to it. I know it would take me probably 3 or 4 months to really get off it, and I've had huge periods of my life without drinking coffee, but I have one coffee a day in the morning, and that's my addiction. And it changes how I feel. Coffee is a whole thing in itself, and that's probably a topic for another day, but it definitely gets me going and gives me a wee spark up. Occasionally I might have two when I'm feeling a little bit wild, but addiction also, whether it's coffee or whatever it is, can also be the most underlying, destructive thing in our life, and sometimes we can't get on top of it. There is a payoff to smoking cigarettes. For that moment, you inhale it into your lungs, feel it go down, it feels nice. You don't inhale and go, oh, that's giving me cancer for later on in a few years, or that's going to cause me the worst slow death with emphysema, or that's going to make me really struggle when I get Omicron. It's going to probably be the nail in the coffin, the straw that broke the camel's back. We don't say that. We go, oh, that's good. And for a moment, as we have that buzz, we're distracted. And what's going on is we're poisoning our body, we're damaging our body, and that toxin, that is for a moment, is a form of sort of a distraction. And it distracts us from taking responsibility for the things we need to be responsible for. I know, I've been there, I've done it. On stage when I was in Europe, I'd have a cigarette hang at my mouth, put an end to my guitar and play the song and draw it back again, and then I'd go to the bar and smack back some whiskies, and then I'd go upstairs to the musician's room and come back out on stage like I'd had a flower bag over my head. G'day folks, how you going? We're all good to go now, woohoo! And I was like coming out with this energy, this big energy that was induced by nicotine. Oh, the amount of drugs. I was gonna say cocaine, but there was speed, there was just about everything I could snort up my nose, alcohol induced, and somewhere along the line you have burnout. And when you're a musician working day after day after day like I used to, which in itself is an addiction, I used to book myself right up for a crazy amount of gigs, you end up having burnout. So what do? You do more, and eventually your body just like goes, I can't do this, and you have a breakdown. And I know what a breakdown feels like too. If you are addicted to food, you'll become fat and you'll develop diabetes type 2 or heart disease. If you're addicted to cigarettes, you'll suffer in one form or another. If you're young right now, you'll think it's not going to happen to you, but it does. It catches up. You won't necessarily, like my grandmother, she smoked her whole life. She actually did die of cancer, but she still got to 79, which was a good innings. But she would have had a better life if she hadn't smoked cigarettes, because I can remember her in the morning coughing and going, I'd say, you okay, Gran? She says, oh no, bloody cigarettes. Blame the cigarettes. Bloody cigarettes did it. It wasn't me. Bloody cigarettes. They made me cough. So that's the other thing that we do with addiction, is we blame everything around us except ourselves. We don't take responsibility. Oh, but I need this to get through the day. No, you don't. We evolve getting through days with much harder things around us, much more hostile environment, without cigarettes or without booze or without excessive food or eating the wrong stuff or excessive womanizing. And I've done all those things and none of them have served me well. And today, when I have something that makes me feel uncomfortable, a thought that comes into my mind, something that I look at it, I look at something, and generally with most people's lives are pretty much get up, go to work, pay the bills, be responsible, come home, have your meal, either plonk out in front of your computer or the TV or something, and then have a distraction. That'll be the TV, and they distract themselves. And I got rid of my TV 20 years ago because it's a major distraction. I haven't sat and watched television. Occasionally when at my dad's house, I've gone and watched the rugby with him. Occasionally, but I don't watch it anymore because that's a distraction. It's no different to something else, and you don't get to deal with the underlying problems of what is causing. And most of those underlying problems for the majority of people is It's historical stuff. It's either stuff that's been done to you or stuff that you've done. And this drinking alcohol or having a excessive running, I was a barefoot runner for a long time, and I did excessive amount of running. I was pounding my feet on the street every day, and it's like that again is it's an addiction. It's probably a lot more healthy than smoking or taking drugs, but still it does wreak havoc. So getting a balance in our lives is not easy. The main thing that you've got to do is just say, I'm not going to try and fix everything. I'm just going to cut down on cigarettes, quit cigarettes. Some of you have the mentality to go, that's it, I'm done, I'm not doing any more, and you'll never pick up another cigarette. For other people, you cannot get through that withdrawal. It's just too much for you. You just can't handle it. You're not strong enough, so you've got to cut back. That might be the way to go. If you've got a drug problem, I suggest go to Narcotics Anonymous. If you've got an alcohol problem, go to Alcoholics Anonymous. If you've got a food disorder, get online and do your research. Start becoming proactive. If you don't do this, what will happen with your addiction is it will take the path of least resistance, and instead of you being the master of your life, it will become the master of your life. So if you always take the easy way out and don't deal with the things you've got to deal with, they will deal with you. And I'll say it again, and they will take the path of least resistance. Tongue twister. And they'll deal with you. Easier said than done. There is a payoff to being addicted to something, to being obese, being overweight. There is a payoff to constantly putting something bad in your body. And the payoff is you're not being responsible. Until you do become responsible, you won't get to where you really want to be in your life and achieve the things you really want to have. You will always be in a situation where you're a victim rather than winning. And you are making a conscious choice every day when you do this or you do that with the wrong food, or whatever you do, you're making a conscious choice to not fight the good battle. Once you start fighting the good battle, that's an amazing thing. Things start to come to you. People start to look at you differently. You start to look at yourself differently, most importantly, and you start to have a new respect for yourself. One of the things that I've always struggled with in my own life is tidiness. And I guess I use the excuse, I'm an artist, it's part of being an artist. And that possibly is why it is, but it's still an excuse, and I still lay that excuse down. And it's one area of my life I could clean up better. I look around my yard and there's some bottles over there from people stayed in the house truck. They didn't take their drink bottles with them when they left, and I didn't tidy it up. And that's my challenge. So we all have a little challenge, that something that we could work on better to become a better man than the man we were yesterday. One of the things to achieve that is to create a habit, make it become habitual that you clean up every day. And it could be as small a thing like starting off with just making sure you do your dishes after every meal, or you put them in the dishwasher, or that you make sure that you always wipe down the hand basin after you wash your hands and been to the toilet. It could be these little tiny things, but they do get bigger and bigger. Well, the same for beating an addiction. You could start off by saying, let's just imagine that you're addicted to eating bad food. Let's say that you like to have like refined carbohydrates, toast and waffles and pancakes and all that comfort food, because you're trying to feed that, and you know that it's creating an insulin spike, and you know it's going to make you fat. I mean, toast and bread is probably the worst thing you could have, but you eat it because it comforts you. So becoming mindful of that one there, you go, okay, I'm going to replace that. I'm going to take control of that because that's making me fat. That's not doing my body any good, and that's a form of addiction. I'm going to change my food. I'm not going to become a all-out ketogenic monkey like Clay. I'm not going to go to one meal a day. I'm just going to eliminate that part to begin with. So when you have that feeling of wanting to have that waffle or that pancake or that bit of toast, you go, okay, what else could I put in my mouth that will satisfy me a little bit? But there really is nothing that's going to be the same as a crunchy bit of toast that's going to do it. But by putting something in your mouth, like munching on, as an example, pork crackling. I love pork crackling. Pork crackling, the fat in that, that'll make you feel like you've been sort of what's the word? I'm getting hungry thinking about it because I love pork crackling. It'll make you feel like you've eaten. Put a bit of pork crackling in your mouth, or maybe cut up an avocado and eat that. Such a good food. Or maybe boil an egg and eat that. Such a good food. Eggs are one of the highest form of amino acid. Instead of that pancake, that waffle, that toast, you've already then mastered something that's been mastering you your whole life. You've already taken back your power. You've got your power back, and you've gone. So that's a win. And instead of just looking at the whole week going, oh, I can't go without this. And I'm only using diet as an example. This could apply to anything. Once you have a little win, it feels good. So what I've been doing lately is, every time I see a bit of rubbish around the yard, I'm just picking it up and putting it in a bag. There's so much stuff around here that's built up. A lot of it's my rubbish, a lot of it's other people's rubbish, but that's no excuse for me not to deal with it, because this is my land and I've let it get out of control. It's not really, really bad, but there's things like, look at the garden over here, for instance, this garden here. That's my little citrus grove. There's an old stainless container which I've been doing smoked fish in, and it sits there. And there's an old bit of shed that was for the build for the that was actually for Dan Pigman, who was building our tree hut he was supposed to use, he didn't use, and I haven't picked it up. So there's this area, the grass is reasonably cut, could be a bit shorter, but the lemon trees are growing, but there's just some rubbish there, so I still aren't on top of it. The same will apply for you in your life. There'll be things that you've done a whole lot better, but there'll still be some little things around, and don't sweat them. Just know that you're going in the right direction, because if I pick up every little bit of rubbish just a wee bit each day, eventually I'll get on top of it. And if you say for diet, I'm only using it as an example, if you just do a little thing each day, eventually it will expand and get easier and easier. So don't be too hard on yourself, but if you want to make change, if you want to get on top of an addiction, oops, we nearly lost the phone, I caught it. That was pretty cool. If you want to get on top of it, one thing at a time might be easier for some of you, and others it might be just going hard out. For me, I'm a hard out person. Some people just can't do that. Crispy, who's one of our brothers on the Bro Chick channel, he's just gone hard out and done it, and man, hats off to you, man. You're at about 5% of men that can actually do that. There's a lot of people don't do that with a ketogenic diet. A lot of you guys now are on that diet, and that's a good one, but this is not about diet, this is just about addiction in general. Good luck making the move to take responsibility for your life and your addiction or addictions. I hope it goes well for you, and I hope this in some ways been of any use at all, and it's sparked some sort of motivation for you to make your life a little bit better. Ultimately, you're the one that will reap the rewards if you do take charge, and if you don't, you're also ultimately the one that will be punishing yourself continually. So give it some thought and enjoy the process. Check on a brother, check on your addictions, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later. Come on, take time to smell the flowers. What do these smell like? Not much at all really, but they look pretty.